Strip it. Strip it. All right, leave it. Strip. Bump it. He's coming.
Oh my gosh.
He got it. Nice. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Redfish Podcast, and I'm here, just me and Dave this time. Shane just had a surgery, so he'll be out for a little bit, but we'll have him back here soon. But just want to start off by saying, it's been a long time since we've done one. Had a lot of people asking about it, and I welcomed baby number 2 into the family, Waylon, back in July, and that was kind of, I did one in June, and then I did that one with Bahio in August, but we really haven't done one, me, Dave, and Shane, in a while, just because between that, and then we jumped right into fall, and we're always so busy in the fall. We definitely need to get back on doing more stuff in the fall too, but I don't know. We get to do a lot more different stuff this time of year. The falls, we're just kind of doing the same thing every day. But we'll jump right in. I'm going to let Dave go on a little bit, and just, I guess, get a recap of the fall, of what we've been doing since the summer through the fall, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Good to be back with you. But, yeah, man, the summer was kind of a typical summer, doing some of the, jack and redfish stuff out on the outside, and then into the fall, which you kind of taper from that into, as you begin to get cool fronts and cold fronts, that begin to push the bigger bull reds into the marsh that a lot of people want to try to catch. Kind of slid into that, and that's kind of been the pattern for the past few months. October, November, December, through February and all that.
We'll just dive right into the fall. I mean, it was a pretty spectacular fall, I'd say. I mean, definitely one of the better falls that we've had in, what do you think, Dave? 5-6 years or so?
Yeah, I think
so.
Had a really good fall. It's fish better, than it's fished in several years. I was just commenting to people I fish, my clients, and different guides I talked to about how good the fishing was. I felt like, and not just fishing for bull reds, but smaller fish, and the age classes we haven't seen as many of. And all in all, had a great fall, super busy, and man, now just kind of coming into the end of Mardi Gras break. It's kind of slowed down a little bit, but yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest thing this past fall was, the bull red fishing, the big fish thing is kind of hard to compare year after year. You can compare it as a whole, but it's so weather dependent, there's so many days where, like, obviously if it's slick, calm, and sunny, that's what we're going to do. We're going to see some big fish. But there were days it was pretty good, even with the wind and all this year. We had a lot of lower water. It just seemed every time we got that one of those crazy hard falling tides, we had an insane front come through, blowing northwest to northeast, blowing all that water out, especially on the west side when we get those northeast winds, which made it good. That's what we want, I'd rather it blowing 10 to 15, and blowing all the water out on a hard falling tide and be super sketchy low, than have, high water and be calm or something like that. But the weather played nice for us. It was overall a good fall. And my biggest thing was, man, we had some slots back finally. It was back to, good old throwing poppers and catching a bunch of little fish everywhere. We've had them the past couple of years, but nothing like we should have. And this was the first fall in a while I really felt, since probably 2020. 2021 that we really had a lot of slots back, which was pretty awesome. Between us taking the pressure off of them a little bit last June by changing those limits, and then not killing the bull reds, and having a good couple spawns. A lot of things were in our favor, and a lot of things have been not in our favor. There's been a lot of things against the redfish for 10 plus years now, and I think the past 2 years have really helped us a lot to regain some of those fish back.
Yeah, after having some good spawns and beginning to see those smaller fish, and as you're saying, when it gets low, sometimes it can be a little sketchy. You get hung up on oyster shells, and some places you're not sure if you're going to hit something when you're running. But anytime that water gets low, it definitely seems like those fish want to get out there and crawl and yeah, just fishing is really good. When that water gets low, you can see so much better. When it gets cold, cleans the water up and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, and I felt like we were kind of playing that waiting game for that coolness. You know, we had like an early stint of it, late September, early October. That was pretty good. And then it was just kind of like hot and blowing pretty much every single day. I mean, we had some crazy weather too. I mean, we had just about a tropical storm in was that the first or second week in November when it just
yeah,
rained and blew
it
30
was
miles an hour for like 5 days straight, which
yeah,
that
it was crazy.
sucked.
Yeah, crazy.
But I'd say overall, like, mid-November through early January, I was pretty happy with the weather. Pretty happy with the water levels we got and all, and pretty happy with the fishing for sure. I mean, caught a lot of big fish, caught a lot of little fish. I mean, my favorite thing is, I mean, I love catching those big fish and all, and that's cool and all. But I'd much rather catch 20 freaking slot fish doing it right, tail and eating poppers. I mean, forget them 25-pound fish. I could care less sometimes. I'm like, we have a day where, I mean, you catch 10 fish over 20 pounds on a fly rod. I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, that's as good as it gets sometimes, I mean, you do that, you're 6 hours and just, fishing for and fighting those fish half the time, catching 10, 25-pound plus fish or so. Whereas I'm like, let's go catch 20 slot fish, make them do it right. And it was finally, we had some of them days this past fall and winter, and it was nice to see. And so.
Yeah, it was good to have some time where you, of course, I do have some guys like Flip who will differ with you about catching
Oh
big
yeah.
fish versus small
Oh,
fish.
there's so many of
You know
my
how he feels
guys.
about that.
There's so
But
many of my guys
yeah,
that they're like they don't even want to throw at a little fish, and I'm like they laugh at me because they're like, "What would you rather do?" I'm like, if I'm fishing by myself, I'm throwing a 7 weight, and all I'm doing all day is trying to catch sheephead and as many little fish as possible. I mean, hell, if I can get, you tell me I can go at a 5 or 6 weight somewhere and catch strictly like 18 inchers on poppers, that's all I'm gonna do. Forget them big, ugly, nasty things that anybody can catch.
yeah, I
Sometimes
got
them
some
little
guys
ones are a
that,
little more
like I said,
technical.
that would differ with you. But yeah, it was nice to have like fishing days where you go catch a couple big fish and you got some small fish, slot fish, to kind of fill in your time
Yeah,
throughout the
I
day, and
think
it's not
that's
just
kind
a
of what we were lacking, because like in previous years and you'd go and you'd be looking for those big ones, and in between looking for them big ones, like that's what I like to do. Is I'm like, well, let's go get an area where some big ones are going to be, but we don't see one for a little bit. Let's catch these couple slots on the bank. You always like, let's get out the open water, pull to the bank real quick, and see if there's a slot fish. It's been a minute, and we kind of
right.
lacked that for a couple years. I feel like, and it just. Not that they weren't there, we couldn't catch them. I mean, like I always tell everybody, we're so spoiled, and we do take for granted what we have because, like, even I tell people all the time, even the worst days I've had in the past 5 to 7 years or so, I mean, they're probably some of the best days you could have on the Panhandle of Florida or Texas and other states like that. I mean, that's just how it is. But as far as just it was very refreshing to like be kind of get those days where you do whatever you want. Those do anything days, I like to call them, where you get a good wind, you could kind of go anywhere, good water level, good tide, and it's like, let's go catch everything. Let's go throw at every slot fish we see, and then let's throw at every bull red, and they're all happy. And I mean, I really love when it's so freaking low that it's like sketchy everywhere, because you don't see nobody else, and those fish are so
Everybody's scared to
happy,
run down
man.
there.
I love
No,
that. People always
there's
ask
absolutely
me, people are like, "Oh, it's sketchy when it gets like that." I'm like, "Hell yeah, man, it's scary. Don't even try it. Go somewhere else."
exactly. No, it was nice to have. Yeah, like I said, those we just went fishing. You weren't just looking for big fish or small fish. I was like, guys, what are we going to? I was like, let's just go fishing. And go fish areas where there's supposed to be fish, and when you come out of there with some small fish, some slot fish, and some big fish, and just nice to kind of have an all around day. And yeah, man, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, it's amazing what a little you give that we've been talking about it for a couple of years now. You give the fish a break, and look what happens. And Yes, I know some people argue, oh, it's not the limits that did that, which we've definitely had some good couple spawns the past couple years, but like I tell everybody, killing one less fish works wonders, man. There's so many more fish out there. There's so many fish going back, those 16, 17 inchers that are going back every day, those 28 inchers. That was one thing I saw too. And I say slots, but like the number of those like 24 to 30 inch fish, I felt were pretty plentiful. And that probably had a lot to do with, a lot of those 28, 29, 30 inch fish. That's like the ultimate fish for the fly, in my opinion, because it's big enough to where like you're going to get drug around on a 10 weight. They usually act pretty well, and they'll still get shallow and crawl in shallow water. I'm not saying the bulls won't either, because they definitely will. But you're more prone to see like a under 30-inch fish with his back out the water than you are a 45-inch fish with his back out the water too. It's just there's more of those 30-inch fish around than there are the 45-inch fish.
Yeah,
But
we were fishing just the other day, and the guy says, "Man," he said, "this fish doesn't look as big as some of the other ones we caught, but man, he just ripped the line off my reel." And I said, "Yeah, dude, that 12 to 15 pound fish, I feel like they fight most of the time harder than a lot of the other fish.
they do,
The
man.
big
I
ones, they just
agree.
don't want to. They don't want to stop. They just keep going." He kept saying, "Yeah, it's not as big as some of the other ones we caught, but they fight harder." I'm like, "Yeah, totally."
Yeah, I've always said that's like the ultimate fish for a fly rod because you can catch a bunch of them. They usually act well. Not saying bull reds don't act well, because at the end of the day, bull reds got that big by eating mostly everything they see. But
Right.
I mean, there's some days you'll throw at a big fish, and he's probably been caught before. He probably saw something like that before and knows. Whereas, like you throw at a 30 incher, anything that and under, it's probably a fresh fish that hadn't been caught before, hadn't seen much. They're pretty happy. They pull hard. I mean, everything you want when you come to fly fish, and not even fly fish, just sight fish in general. I mean,
Right.
sticking those like throwing crawfish on spinner rods at 30-inch 10 to 12 pound fish is about as cool as you could ever want. I mean, shoot, just catching those blind casting a chatterbait. We did a lot of that late December and early January this year is when I have some of my spin fishing guys that come a lot that time of year too, just to catch like big fish and fish like that. And just, I mean, we love cranking them chatterbaits and throwing big swim baits for bull reds and fish from that slot range to bull red size. But yeah, I mean, it was good, and that'll kind of bring us into our next thing that we wanted to talk about. We've got a lot of questions about too. We had what was it, 120 something year snow event that we had. I
Yeah, it
mean, it
was
was it
unbelievable.
was like
Yeah.
nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, it was crazy. It was something out of something nobody would ever believe, and it was pretty wild. I got some cameras in the marsh that I have on like my duck leases and all, and it was pretty insane watching those areas freeze over and snow pile up and all. And I was kind of worried about it from the get go, but I mean, we definitely saw a bit of a fish kill. I mean, you never want to see anything like that, and it sucks because like I only saw it a couple days on the west side, and it wasn't as bad on the east side and other areas. I'd say it was the west side was hit harder, and I'd say west side like Barataria Basin, from
Yeah.
Lafitte, Port Sulphur, Buras, Grand Isle, Leeville. A lot of shallow water areas, not a lot of area for fish to get out, but we talked about that walleye fisheries a lot, and based on their winter severity scale that they have built into the stock assessment, they have that winter severity index. It was, I think, it matched a lot like the 2018 freeze, which we never want to lose fish, period. But I don't think it ended up being as bad as near what we were thinking from the get go. I mean, when I went duck hunting a few days after that, I was like, geez, this is not good. And then Dave was sending me videos and he was like, man, there's this, and everybody was sending me stuff, and I was like, this is not good. And now that things, and it was kind of a bad timing too, because what happens right after, late January through February, the weather can either be sometimes pretty good or sometimes really shitty, and it got real shitty. I mean, that weather, shoot,
Huh.
even we're doing this podcast now. It's Mardi Gras Day, and I mean, we tried to get out the house and do some stuff today, but there was a nasty storm that came through today. They canceled
Right.
Mardi Gras. I mean, not in the city of New Orleans. For a quick note for anybody that's wondering, the last time we had a crazy snow event freeze like that was 1895 Mardi Gras Day. And I don't even know how many people died, and they still had, which Mardi Gras Day? Is that Rex?
Yeah,
Or
Rex and
Zulu?
Zulu.
Rex and
Yeah.
Zulu. Rex and Zulu still ran on Mardi Gras Day when they had, I think it was like 11 degrees or something in the city. So they're not canceling that for anything. They actually moved the parades up early. We haven't really done Mardi Gras in the city in years. We've always gone to Metairie. Metairie canceled everything. So we just kind of did the little kid parade in Slidell and then came home, and man, that wind was blowing today. That wind was
cracking out there.
cracking.
We didn't choose to go to any parades today. We went some, over the past few days and all that stuff, the craziness of Mardi Gras and all that. But yeah, definitely when the snow happened in January, we had actually gone out of town to visit a college up in Arkansas that my oldest son, most likely be going to, starting in the fall, playing football up there. But yeah, we were heading back down, and we're on 55, coming back down on that Monday, which is Martin Luther King Day. Coming back that night, as we made the turn, coming across Lake Pontchartrain, the sleet started hitting the windshield at like 10 o'clock at night. And of course, we get home and kind of, sleets and stuff a little bit through the night. And the next morning, I get up and it's snowing at 6. And it was like you were out west on a snow skiing trip or something. Like it snowed.
It really was, dude. It was
for 12
crazy.
hours.
I mean,
Yeah,
we were under a blizzard warning for a little bit. I don't know that that's happened in like modern weather and weather history of New Orleans or just South Louisiana in general. I mean, it was crazy. Like you couldn't see outside, and at one point it was like the snow got to be like over my ankle, and I was like, "What is happening?" I mean, it is so crazy.
I measured. I had a spot out here where I knew there was, it was on the concrete. And when it finally quit snowing, it was almost a foot deep of snow.
Jeez,
like in
it
New
was
Orleans,
crazy.
it was unbelievable. I've got pictures and videos of us like snow stacked up on top of the cars and trucks, and us walking down the street. And then we took some. Of course, we have no sleds or toboggans, and that's but we actually took some industrial sized trash bags and filled them full of big sheets of cardboard. Put the truck in 4-wheel drive, drove over to the levee, Mississippi River levee, and let the kids like slide down the, sled down the snow. And then we took an old, like a skimboard, and they were riding the skimboard down the,
that's a
down the
good
levee.
idea.
Yeah. So, but it's the craziest thing I ever heard. But, kind of getting back to what we saw as fish kill the first day or two I fished after that. I did see a lot of dead trout on the bottom. Of course, at that point, it's hard to tell really what's going on. But I'm kind of one of those. I go to like worst case scenario mode. I was like, oh my gosh,
That's how I was, man.
It's gonna be terrible.
I saw that, and then like after that's what getting back to that. What really was like the holy crap point was, the weather got so bad after that. It was hard to tell like what's really happened.
Right.
Was it really this bad, or is the weather this bad? We had a couple decently calm days, but it was like foggy and nasty, and the water was high. And, like, I wasn't seeing many fish, and it was just like, oh, what the hell's going on? But I think it was just a matter of, like, the weather. I mean, we literally went from, what was it, dude? It got down to 8 degrees at my house that night it snowed. And then I think within, like, 12 days, it was, like, touching 80 degrees.
Yeah, I know over here on the South Shore, it was like, because they always talk about the North Shore and the South Shore. If you live around New Orleans, it's like Slidell and all that's North Shore, Covington, Mandeville. And then when you get across the river, New Orleans is the South Shore. And it was like in the 20s at night, that's flipping cold for here, And so, the snow started
I'll put it to you
morning.
this way. Like in Delacroix, where my cameras are, which is like way on the outside and just about Black Bay, where I have one camera on one of my leases out there, the temperature there got to 21 degrees, and the water temperature was like 32.5 one day.
Yeah,
which that doesn't happen. People always laugh at me because they're like, does it ever freeze down here? I'm like, in the city's even different too. The city sees more freezing temperatures than down the road. I mean, down the road is a whole nother level, like Port Sulphur, Point LaHash, Delacroix, Venice, all that. Like they literally down the road won't see below freezing nights usually throughout the whole year. It's pretty rare.
Yeah,
So to see it in the 20s
down there
was pretty crazy.
yeah, the past week or so when I was fishing, I was kind of busy this past week with some trips, and like, yeah, I wore shorts and flip flops like fishing 3 days this past
Yeah.
week. The gnat, I'm still, dumb enough to wear shorts, and the gnats are eating me up. But I'm like, well, I can
Yeah,
wear shorts. I'm wearing them.
yeah.
But the mangrove and stuff that's down there, it bit those pretty hard. I think they'll come back. But
Yeah,
like it
I remember though. After I remember specifically in Port Sulphur the 2018 freeze.
yeah,
Remember
for
all the
sure.
mangroves were like brown and dead, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I mean, it's definitely not good, especially if we have a heavy storm season this year, which hopefully we don't.
Right.
But I mean, it all came back, and it didn't come back in a year though. I remember like the following year being like, "Damn, this stuff ain't coming
Yeah.
back," and then it finally did. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
finally see little green sprouts popping up on the bottom, and it finally starts to grow as way. But it takes a few years, for that stuff to grow back up.
yeah. I mean, hopefully everything grows and comes back up. And but yeah, I mean, getting back to everything, walleye fisheries. I mean, they did. It's a good job by them for how they manage it. It's all built into the stock assessment already. So we were kind of like just urging them to, if there's any kind of precautionary measures, and I say urging them as in like urging the commission. And I was pretty much like at one of the meetings we had in February was if there's any chance of us taking any precautionary actions to just in case there's a problem, I just always assume lean on that side of why not, It never hurts to do anything precautionary just in case anything were to happen. But the simple truth of the matter is, well, the commission did not take any precautionary action. This is the truth of the matter is they're always monitoring, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, they're sampling every month. The CSA sampling sites, they're sampling every month. We have LA Creel, which is the most up to date, accurate fish. It's part of what we factor into stock assessments. It's part of kind of how they keep track of who's catching what. It keeps track of catch rates, and it's been proven to be one of the most efficient and well done systems in the whole country the past couple of years, especially. So between LA Creel, managing catch rates of our anglers and our, and anglers going out there and their trips and what they're catching or not catching, and whatever it may be, and then them sampling like they do every month in anyway. If there's a real problem that the biologists start to see, something will come of it. We'll hear about it. They'll bring it to the commission and say, hey, we're kind of seeing a dip and we think you should do this for this many months or whatever. So we'll see more really in the next couple months on that from them if there is any problem. But I mean, we definitely lost some fish, which sucks because I just think we had so many, especially of the smaller fish this past fall. But I don't think it set us back anything crazy. And
Yeah, that was one of my, only main concerns is, a lot of the guys we talked to that, I'm not going to go back into rehashing the whole, we're fighting to try to get the limits changed and all that. But, some of the guys are saying, oh, we've had good spawns the past couple of years. It's going to take care of itself. But then when some of the smaller fish were killed in the freeze, it's like, well, this is exactly what we're saying.
exactly.
That what if we have some kind of freak nature event? I'm not saying it's all doom. And I have felt better, I will say, in the past week or so, being busy, and you kind of get back out there, and it's kind of warmed back up a little bit. You got some good tides, and so begin to see more fish, and so it did make me feel a little bit better about, because I was all doom and gloom, like, oh man, what are we going to do? I'm gonna have to get another job, get a move. What am I have to do?
Yeah, I
And
mean, because we just don't know. We've never had anything happen like that. I mean, the 2018 freeze was all we had.
right,
And like that wasn't anything that was more I feel like it's more widespread than this and this was kind of localized to a few different at least our area, which
yeah, for
sucks.
sure.
But it was kind of, nobody's ever experienced anything like that. So it's like you go ask people what happened and you got a few people remember the 89 freeze, and what happened
Right.
after that and you hear them talk about that, but I mean it just wasn't there's not much of an example for it. I mean, you look at examples like what happened in Texas and all, and some of them guys were literally like, "We have zero fish; they're all
Yeah,
dead."
for sure. No,
And
they
you
got
you,
hammered
you start
a
thinking
few
that in the
years ago.
back, yeah, you start thinking that in the back of your mind and all, and you're like, "What the hell?" But I think it turned out better than what we thought. And I mean, as always, like we said from the get go of why we pushed for that three fish limit was to just allow for things like this to not hurt us. If we had that
Right.
3 fish limit, things like this would happen that are out of our control, and we're better off than where we were by taking the bare minimum, So that was kind of what we pushed for. And I mean, we're always going to be on the precautionary side and always going to advocate for the best case scenario for our fishery, not something that we think will do the trick or whatever, however you want to call it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, and just kind of getting back to the whole freeze thing, I've had people ask me about it, and it was definitely more scary than I think it actually was, just because it was seemed to be really confined in an area. But I mean, believe me, if it was all doom and gloom and there was nothing for us to look for out there, we would be the first ones on top of it. But it just hasn't been
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've gotten some good weather. Let's say the past week was the best weather we've had since what? Early
Oh yeah,
January, late
for a
December,
while. I think we got the snow and all. It went so cold, and that water temperature just dropped like a rock.
Well, yeah, I mean, the water temperature literally went from like the low 30s to the high 70s in like 14 days.
Yeah, because it was like in
Which,
the 80s, and then it got cold again, and it
yeah,
finally now just leveled out.
it's been up and down, and that was kind of the hard thing to tell. Was it like, man, are we really in a bad situation, or is it just typical tough weather? And I mean, everybody that's been here knows, you come and get some bad weather, and it's tough fishing, and it's like, what the hell? And then you get like one slick, calm, sunny day, and then everything's right in the world, and you're like, this is the greatest place ever. You can do no wrong. That's how it is. I mean, we're always going to be weather dependent, especially fly fishing. I mean, I always tell people, you want to come roll spinner baits, chatter baits, and throw frogs, we're going to catch some fish. We're going to catch some fish
Right.
pretty much no matter what. And I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do, especially this time of year for the slot fish. And we're kind of getting right into that, soon, hopefully. It's still been hopefully this is our last front. I think that damn groundhog told us another 6 weeks. I don't know how
Yeah, I'm not
long
sure
ago
if
that.
he saw his shadow or
I don't
not.
know how long ago that
Yeah.
was, but hopefully the Nutria will save us on that one. And
It was February. I always know it's February the 2nd. That was my granddad's birthday, so
oh,
I
really?
always remember when Groundhog's Day is February 2nd.
That's funny. But yeah, so um, we're kind of just. I think we're getting back to like the start of spring now. This will be the last front. It's gonna be pretty cold. I mean, it's probably getting near 40 degrees by my house right now.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be back to like kind of early February, late January type fishing for maybe a week or so. But I think we get another stretch of bad weather coming this weekend, and then hopefully it straightens out and we get spring kind of snodgrass growing and stuff like that. So that'll hopefully lead us right into that, and we'll have Shane on soon too once he's done whatever he's
Getting healed
doing.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just
healed
checked
up.
the weather. Just checked the weather for Port Sulphur. It's 61 right now, so it's 56 in the morning. So yeah, kind
Yeah,
of
it's
get that
still pretty chilly
cool
for
back
down
down.
there. Which I
But yeah,
mean, whatever. I
one thing
like
I
a few
wanted
days
to
like that.
add, we were going to talk about, kind of throw this in there, was today was kind of the last day to get a king cake. Talk about
Oh yeah,
the king cakes. I don't know if we want to throw that in there now or
yeah.
not,
It's
but I
Mardi.
asked.
Like I don't know if I said it before, but it's Mardi Gras Day. We're doing this. I'll probably have this out in the next couple days, maybe tomorrow if we get done this early enough tonight. But that's I in the notes I gave Dave. I said I wrote in there something about king cakes just because it's Mardi Gras and just because I don't know. I like to fight with people about king cakes because some people think
Yeah,
some king cakes are good, but they suck.
but if you
So
don't have one yet, you're gonna have to wait till next year to get one.
yeah,
So, well, not totally true, but probably you know what I mean for the most
yeah.
part.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. What's your? I got to ask my boys and my wife earlier. We've got our own little
Oh,
list of,
really?
but it's
Dude,
like
we ought to do a whole tasting next year. Maybe we'll do
I
a whole
know. Yeah, we
podcast
should.
where
Yeah.
I don't know where we can do it somewhere, and we just get one of all of them, like, and just do a whole. I mean, maybe there's some videos out there. I'm so disconnected from anything that has nothing to do with fishing and stuff like this, but I've never seen any kind of video where somebody's just sat down and done like a full taste review of all the king cakes around, and there's a bunch, so we probably couldn't
Yeah.
do all, but let's at least get like 15.
Only
50,
one,
10
only
to the
one I've
top
seen
ones.
is yeah. The only one I've seen is it's not king cakes, but if you've seen that guy, it's he always does red beans and rice day. His name is like
Oh yeah, Devin
Snow
Snow.
like John, and anyway, so he does that. But yeah, we've had, of course, a lot of people are crazy about Dong Fong. It is really good if you like.
Man,
It's just different,
I'm not
but
a fan of Dong Fong that
it's not your
much.
traditional
You know
king
what? I'm
cake.
a
I mean,
fan
it's
of
good.
Dong Fongs. They're meat pies. You
Oh
want the
yeah,
best
dude.
damn meat pie you ever had in your life? Go
Yeah,
drive in the Wild Wild East and get you a Dong Fong meat pie because it is funny to me when I see because I mean, dude, that's a sketchy area to be in over there where Dong Fong's at,
yeah,
and
yeah, no doubt.
you see like this, you know, this mother of four driving, this Karen that lives like uptown off of St. Charles, driving this Escalade down to freaking the middle of like a terrible area to get a damn king cake that really ain't that good. But
Yeah, when I used to live over that way. I tell people I lived in the east. It's like, Dave, you lived in the east? I was like, well, not way out in that part of the east, but yes, kind of over that way. But yeah, Dong Fong, and then a couple we have from over here on the Wank on the West Bank. There's one place called Hido. It's really good.
I've
I
never
had not
had
had
that one.
hadn't had that one until this year. But it was really good.
What's
And
that
also,
one like?
it's a typical traditional. They have. I had
See,
a
I'm
cream
like a
cheese one.
traditional king cake kind of person, me.
But it did have the gritty sugar a little bit. I don't love that. That's why I think
Yeah.
I like Randazzo's because I like
Randazzo's is awesome,
the
man.
the icing with the little sprinkles and not the gritty sugar. So
Yeah, man. I'd say we'd have to classify the king cakes in like multiple categories because like
yeah, for sure.
I'd say when people laugh, I used to say I love Rouse's king cakes, as a kid and all, and people would always laugh and they're like, what are you smoking?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's a $5 king cake. It was just straightforward. That's like what I grew up knowing what a king cake was,
It
and
wasn't thirty eight
it's
dollars.
yeah, it was like a $5 king cake, and it was French bread with like granulated sugar on the top and
Right,
three different
right.
colors. I mean, that's just what king cake was. And then it became this like everything, The internet got a hold of it, and people putting damn crawfish and boudin and shit in king cakes. Like that ain't no
Yeah,
damn king cake.
the
I mean,
bougie.
you could call it whatever, but no, I'd say you'd have to have a king cake that's like I don't know what you call it, like specialty king cake, where it's like crazy stuff like that, where it's
Yeah,
more
like
just a
pralines and cream or
yeah,
something.
like a super dessert like cakey thing, and then you'd have
Hmm.
like your traditional king cakes, which is just your French bread with just cinnamon flavor and granulated sugar on it. And
Right.
maybe there's some kind of middle category. I don't know, but I mean, we know a lot more about redfish than stuff
Oh
like
yeah, for
that.
sure.
But
I'm no king cake professional
I
for
mean, I've
sure.
eaten a lot of king cakes, though. I feel pretty confident I've eaten more king cakes than some people. So,
Oh, I'm sure,
but
no
yeah,
doubt.
I've always been a Manny Randazzo's person forever. That's one of the better tasting ones. And
Yeah, they're good
man, the
for sure.
Randazzo's over here, Camellia City and Slidell. That Randazzo's really good too. Maybe it's because I haven't had a Manny Randazzo's one because I haven't stood in line in Metairie or New Orleans in a couple of years for
Yeah.
one, but
Well, there's
they're pretty
also the
good.
Rendazzo's over in Chalmette down the road.
Oh, Nonus.
Nona
I
Rendazzo. It's
don't like
good.
Nonus
So
as much. It's
yeah.
good, but it's not a Manny's or a Camellia City. See, we're gonna have
Right,
to
right.
rank them. We have
Yeah,
to rank
yeah.
them. We're gonna have people like in the comments. We'll do a video and post it on YouTube or something with people in the comments cursing us, and we'll be like, "Man, we
Right.
don't know anything about it, nor do we give a shit." So we just decided to do this because
Get you
I don't
stirred
know.
up.
Yeah, get you stirred up, and it's honestly tough weather time for redfish around king cake season sometimes. So,
It can be for
but
sure.
yeah, I mean, I know the last week was pretty good. I only fished a couple days. I know you fished a couple more days, and it was pretty much slick calm a couple days. And I know some people were doing the island thing, running out by the islands and
Hmm.
running into schools and stuff like that, which that's awesome. I mean, that's your once in a lifetime thing that some people never get to see.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
I mean, literally, I don't care if you got a damn 42 Freeman, you're not doing that many days of the year, and those fish aren't out there like that many days of the year. So it's a special thing to get to see that and do that. I know at least what I did a couple days, what you did a couple days, which your traditional, just we're in the marsh and had
Hmm.
some good
Yeah,
fishing days. Calm weather,
absolutely.
clean water, got some big fish, caught some slot fish, saw some sheeps, and then we got the sheepy coming up. I won't be
Man,
doing
I
it
wish
this
we'd been
year.
fishing the sheepy this week because I saw some
Dude, I
walleyes.
saw a bunch the other day, and they were happy and tailing, and they were big, and I was like, "Damn!" It's just, and you know how it works, though. If it was slick, calm, and sunny, and like perfect conditions for the sheepy, it wouldn't be the sheepy. So,
Oh, I was trying to explain to this guy Steve about the sheepy, and
no,
you
I
know,
like what we've been doing the past couple years, though. It's been what, three biggest. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's pretty solid.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
shoot, last year, how many fish were caught last year, dude? Like seven.
Not many,
I
not
caught
many.
three of them. However many
Yeah,
were caught last year, I think it
yeah.
was less than 10. I mean, let me put it first by saying, what do you think it was blowing both days last year? I think
It
one
was,
day was
yeah,
sustained near 30. I'm not even
yeah.
joking.
It was cracking.
It
Well, the
was
second,
insane.
the second day I didn't get to fish because I had to go up to Mississippi for a funeral.
Oh
You and I were
yeah.
fishing. I think you rode around with Spike
Oh,
and
that
we
was
took
two
some
years
pictures.
ago.
Was that 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
last year, I fished with Cody Rubner and Nick from ASGA, and
Oh yeah, that's right.
We ended up coming in second, and that was pretty awesome. That this one that Nick caught the second day was just like, I mean, what I thought would win it for us, because we literally saw like four sheephead in 2 days, and we caught three of them, which was pretty impressive. And we caught this one. It was like with minutes left to spare in the second day after not
Oh
seeing
yeah,
much
that's
of
right.
anything all day. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
I fished with that's right. I fished with Warren this past year because anyway, we were yeah, I think yeah, you had Cody and those guys you were fishing. I
yeah, and
went up fishing with
speaking
Warren's.
of freaking Spike and Tristan beat us.
Right.
That's who I came in second to. Typical Tristan. We don't get to see that much that often anymore, fishing wise. But
Right.
he
Yeah,
shows
yeah,
up
yeah.
everywhere here for the sheepy, and usually somewhere up in the top, if not winning it, because he's one of the better casters around. And Spike's. We'll just call him lucky. He's not that good.
Ah, he'll love that.
Yeah, he'll love that. He won't listen to this. Spike probably don't. He don't know how to log on to a podcast. I'll help him out. But no, anyway. So yeah, that's coming up. Another. Speaking of, while we're on the topic of tournaments, um, another one. I don't know if you're doing it, Dave, but I signed up again to do that Dirty Carp tournament. And I think it's going to be April 5th this year. It's the first Saturday in April. Yeah, April 5th.
Yeah,
That's.
man. I saw it pop up, and by the time I went to sign up, it was full. So,
Oh damn!
man,
Really?
Josh and those guys, man, they have really promoted that thing, and
Dude, it
I mean,
was.
it filled up quick.
I loved it last year. I'm telling you, out of all the tournaments I've done, whether it's, redfish tournaments, spin fishing, fly fishing, anything, that was one of my favorite ones I've done in years last year. It was
Yeah,
so
if
much
I could.
fun. It just reminded me of like being 10 years old and walking around the city and catching carp and all. And me and my buddy Michael fished it, and we caught a couple good ones, and we didn't place or any. I don't know what place we came in, but it was just so much fun. They had some awesome prizes, gave away some awesome reels and rods and all kinds of stuff. But no, I mean, that one was pretty cool. That's Justin and that crew of Mac and all them from the New Orleans Fly Fishers Club.
Yeah,
Is
for
that
sure.
they put that together? That's part of, No Wake Outfitters. Justin and them helped out with that stuff, and there's a really cool thing they got going on, and I mean, it's gonna be bigger and better this year. And like Dave was saying, it's sold out in minutes. I mean, it's
Yeah, it was
something
quick,
that
man.
people
Like I said,
want to be a part of.
I didn't realize. I saw it pop on Instagram, and I checked my schedule, and I think I actually went by the flash by No Wake, and it was like, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it's full. I'm like, what? You
Oh,
just put it up
jeez.
there, yeah. So maybe I can talk one of those guys and
Yeah, I
let
was
me
about to
fish.
say, we'll of all people, if they're gonna make an exception for anybody, they should make an exception for Dave.
We'll see. We'll see. Go hang out in the
So we'll
canals.
put in the good word.
Only thing I know about catching the carp in the canals. I remember years ago when they had IFTD here in 2011. I took Nathaniel from the angling company in the Keys. We went. He said, "Dude, I want to go carp fishing." So I talked to John Iverson, and he's telling me he would keep a little pad of butter in his pocket. He
Butter,
would put
really?
some butter on his fly. I don't think you can do that because it's like putting shrimp juice on your
No,
fly.
I don't
So
think you're supposed to. I
I
don't know
mean,
the exact
no, this
rules, but
that wasn't the term. This was years
yeah,
ago
this is long
when he
before
was telling me
that.
about
That's
that.
funny. I mean, shoot, what I used to do when I was a kid is throw bread. You ball up bread and then throw some at sink, and then throw the rest of the pieces on the surface. And then, like, the second they come up and eat the bread, you slip your fly in there and you catch them every time. They're not trying to eat your fly. They're trying to eat the bread, and your fly got in the way. But carp were pretty hard to catch, so I had to figure out somehow. I will tell you, though, when I was a kid throwing it all in carp, it probably made me a pretty good red fisherman with the fly, just because, like, carp are harder to catch than redfish for sure. You know, they want it in like a 2x2 square inch spot sometimes. Right. Redfish can do that too sometimes, but I usually say they at least want it in a little bit bigger area.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that'll be another cool one. I mean, for anybody out there that didn't get a chance to fish that last year and missed it this year, like, be ready next year, because it's becoming a pretty popular thing. And the second they post it, you better get on it, you know. So
like I said, I didn't fish it last year. Was hoping to fish it this year, but it just seems like, it's kind of one of those, like, regular guy tournaments.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it, man. It's just fun. You know, it nobody cared what boat you rolled up in. Like, you just roll up and if we're being realistic here, I mean, you just walk around straight from No Wake Outfitters and catch carp. Sure. You know, that's what's so cool about it. Like, they had some kids fishing it. They had some people that probably don't fish that much fishing it. And they had hardcore people that, like, do it all the time. And then people like us that guide redfish and all that do it. And one thing I thought was pretty funny was that, like, we caused, like, a legit stir in that What's Happening on Metairie Facebook page. Oh,
yeah, dude.
I mean, that's a giant Facebook page. And they had at one point, like, a 300 comment thread on there of people being like, what the hell is happening? There's guys fishing in the canals everywhere. Because, I mean, there was literally, I think, how many teams they had last year? Like,
I'm not even sure. I
bet you they had 50, 60 people walking around the canals in Metairie with a fly rod. People were probably legit like, what is happening? I used to always love telling people, and this was pretty true before Katrina when I was a kid, that you could catch redfish in some of the canals off of Lake Pontchartrain and all, because we didn't have pump stations and everything, all these blockages to get into the canals. But, as far as, like, carp and all, what I'd always tell people, and I'd be cracking up laughing because some guy would drive by and he'd be like, oh man, what y'all catching in there? I'd be like, oh, redfish. And they'd be like, come on, really? I'd be like, hell yeah, man, there's a bunch of them right here. And you'd see that guy with, like, dead shrimp under a cork over there the next day.
In there. Oh yeah. But no, I'm looking forward to kind of getting into the spring. You know, you mentioned doing some sight fishing with crawfish or spin fishing or whatever, but I think there's a lot of people who will fly fish with me, and they're like, I was like, look, dude, I said, fish being a little finicky. I was like, dude, grab this spinning rod and you drag that soft plastic in front of that fish, and they just smoke it. I don't know.
We always talk about it this time of year, you know, and you can get some tough days this time of year with fly fishing, just based on the weather or whatever. But man, there's some days in this time of year from now through like May where we could beat the brakes off of them slot fish with a soft plastic, and even a topwater. Yeah, and that's so much fun, man. I get some people who are just going to live and die by a fly rod. That's not me. I like to catch fish. I'm going to live and die by catching fish. I like to catch fish however, you know, really any fish. I don't really care. I mean, I love throwing swim baits this time of year because you catch a big speckled trout, you catch a redfish. Sure. How many 30-pound blue cats have I caught throwing big, you know, swim baits and all? I mean, that shit's really fun and really entertaining.
Yeah, I probably did more trips last year in the spring. You know what guys want to do? They said, we like to sight fish. We don't really fly fish. I was like, well, that's fine. I'll throw the trolling motor on. And that way you can cover some. They're like, oh, Dave, you being lazy. You don't want to pole your boat. I'm like, no, dude, it's all about covering some shoreline. We throw that trolling motor on there. You just beat the banks.
Yeah, it's so
you get some
different.
sight fishing in too. So it's just a different deal.
Oh, yeah. And then you could be so much faster with a spinner rod and, you know, get that bait to them. And less shots and all in the spring. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to it too. I'm not going to say like you're limiting yourself by fly fishing. I mean, so I'll just put it to you this way. Anytime you have a fly rod in your hands, you're limiting yourself for the most part in everything we do here. I know there's some places in the world in fisheries where fly fishing is the better option, but if you want to just, if you're trying to be the most efficient, if you don't have a dead shrimp under a popping cork, you're not being the most efficient. Right. Now, do I want to go through a dead shrimp under a popping cork every day? Absolutely not. I am just not a fan of that much. I'll do it. I love doing it with kids, obviously. But, like, I'll do it if somebody really asks for it. I really like just as far as most efficient thing I like to do. Man, chatterbaits and swim baits this time of year are so much fun on spinner rods and bait casters. I get a
Yeah,
lot of
for
bass
sure.
fishermen from Texas and all that, and they're like, they'll throw a fly, and I'll tell them like, oh, well, if we catch a couple on the fly and I think the conditions are right, let's do it. But if I'm like, it's kind of tough, we might only get a few shots with the fly, but we'll probably get 10, 15 shots with a bait caster or a spinner rod. I mean, there's not very many people that refuse that often. Same thing as we get through the summer. Sometimes we deal with some dirty water for those bull reds and jacks. And then, like, obviously the jacks are just so much fun. Honestly, they kick my ass on the fly rod sometimes to where I'm like, just give me that spin rod so I can return the favor to them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Some, people fishing with me and it's like, they got a buddy in the boat with them. One guy gets hooked up on a fly rod and jacks and stuff. Or if you get into the summer, we're talking about that. They're moving so fast, like, a few seconds, and they're out of distance with your fly rod.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, dude, take this freaking popper, this plug, and chuck it out there, and you can, you catch one way out there. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's like you've heard that old saying of you ever seen somebody frowning on a jet ski? It's one of
right,
those things. You ever seen somebody unhappy about a 30-pound jack swallowing a tuna popper on a
no,
spinner rod? No, absolutely not. I'd always laugh at stuff like that. And I mean, shoot, dude, that'll be around before we know it, too,
oh yeah,
and
absolutely,
that's my favorite thing of the whole year. And one thing that's pretty cool this year, bringing up the stuff with the jacks, is we'll actually be we'll be tagging some of those jacks with telemetry tags this year. And
right.
that's a part of ASGA, the American Saltwater Guide Association, have kind of put this project together, which is pretty awesome considering there's not much information on jacks. And there's parts of Florida, people in Florida kind of saying that there's a problem with them and they're kind of wanting to do some more research on it. And Tony and the guys at ASGA kind of came to me and a couple other guys here and were like, hey, we're thinking about getting some tags and raising some money to tag some Jack Crevalle and getting a couple of researchers a part of it. What do you think? And I was like, this is absolutely awesome. We could find out some really valuable information. We could figure out, are these the same fish we're fishing that people are fishing in Florida? Are these different fish? And there's a lot of things that'll be pretty cool. So just another really cool research thing to look forward to. And just another reason, like, if y'all are fishing with us this summer and you're jack fishing, especially this summer, just be ready. I mean, we're going to try and get everybody over here, at least, me, Dave, I know Bailey's going to do some of it, and a couple other people that do the jack thing a lot. We're going to try and get some tags in jacks this year. And if you want to be a part of that, call like soon because we're all going to have a limited number of tags. We're all going to, there's only so many to go around and so many days to do it. You're going to be a part of history. Nobody's ever done anything like this before. And what a better way to come and have a great day of targeting jacks and you gave back to the fishery by putting a telemetry tag into a jack, those little acoustic tags. You put those into a jack and maybe it pings a buoy. Maybe you catch it in Lake Pontchartrain, it pings a buoy on the East Coast. I mean, there's no telling. Maybe you catch it in Venice and it pings a buoy in Africa. I mean, there's really no telling. It's pretty incredible, pretty cool thing. And I've already worked with some of my clients on organizing some of that stuff. And I just think it'll be pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool of them. We say a lot about a lot of different organizations around us and all the stuff that they haven't done in 20 years. And an organization like ASGA comes in and under, 2 years is already trying to do stuff like this to better our fishery. I mean, congrats to them. And I'm glad to have people like that around.
Yeah, I knew you kind of knew a little bit more about all that was going on as far as tagging jacks and all that. And I was telling a few people about it, and you kind of get some mixed opinions sometimes. They're like, "Man, why would you fool with tagging jacks?" I was like, dude, they're such a great species of fish to catch, whether you're on a fly rod, spinning rod. And I'm like, I mean, can you ever really know too much information about fish, like where they travel, what they're? I mean, some people believe like there's they're like, why are you worried? I said, not necessarily maybe worried about the numbers so much, but maybe you are worried about the numbers. But like I had kind of some like comments from a few people. I'm like, what does it matter if they want to like spend some time and effort tagging jacks and kind of figuring out what they're doing more, understand more what they're doing. I think it's great, and I applaud Tony and you guys who've kind of been more on the front of that than I have, and hope to, myself hope to be involved in some of that in the future as well this summer. So.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, is like, what are you talking about for people that come at you and they're like, oh, that's too much science, hurts their head. Too much research.
Right.
There's never too much information. There's never too much data. It just helps everything. Jack's a pretty. I mean, I know a lot of people still consider them trash fish and all. They're pretty important to our business and our fishery. We target them a lot all summer long. I always tell people if Jack Crevalle were around year round, I probably wouldn't target redfish as much. I would probably target Jacks more, just because they're probably my favorite fish. I mean, them, redfish, Jacks, and bonefish. Those are probably my three favorite of just about everything. Jacks are just so incredible, and maybe there's no problem with them. Maybe there is a problem with them. Either way, we're gonna find out some information that nobody has already. And there's already some
Right.
people working on stuff like that, like Marcus Dryman over there in Mississippi. And
Mhm.
I mean, Walleye Fisheries is going to be a part of this. And speaking of Walleye Fisheries too, man, I mean they've stepped up a lot and have been really on top of the game with everything lately. And I mean, hopefully have on. I'd like to have on Chris Sheebley soon, and we could talk about the LA Creole stuff and all, and how important that has become. Because I mean, for a lot of y'all that live under a rock and just worry about the people around them, like me, that don't pay attention to news or anything. I know, like the federal government has just been, I mean, all but collapsing everywhere, and all the federal, NOAA and Wally and federal fishing game and all this stuff. And people are like, oh, MRIP has failed the Fed system, and NOAA's doing this and all. And I'm like, I'm sitting back just thinking about stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? While our walleye fisheries has done so well in creating a system in LA Creole to differ themselves from the rest of the nation, that no matter what happens in all this, Louisiana is literally going to be on top of the entire nation as far as fisheries science goes. And I know a lot of people want to be like, oh, we're last in everything. We suck at everything. We don't take care of stuff. I'm like, yes, I agree. There are many things where we overlook certain resources we have and stuff like that. And if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, yes, we definitely are not taking our fishery into the best, taking care of it the best way we can. But man, the past like 3, 4 years, especially this past year, has showed us, damn, it's pretty crazy that Louisiana is on top of the nation in just about everything. I mean, you look at the East Coast with stripers, you look at the Gulf. I mean, you look at Texas and their struggles with not even doing stock assessments and doing just abundance indices, counting boat trailers. You look at FWC and the problems that they have and all, and it's like, holy crap, we are on top of this. States like Mississippi and Alabama are working on having their own LA Creole system because it's worked so damn well. It's pretty impressive, and I mean, hats off to all them guys over there, to Jason, Chris, Patrick Banks. I mean, Sheehan's done a great job with some of that stuff lately too. Ryan Montague, Tyler Boswell. I mean, that whole crew over there. I've been pretty impressed, and I've had my doubts about some people over the years. And when we came into the new administration, I was kind of like, holy crap, what the hell? We kind of had a good system going. I was fearful of how everything was going to go. And I'm sitting here today being like, we're on top of everything. We're on top of the world as far as fisheries goes. And anybody wants to fight that, I'm standing up for them, because I'm pretty happy with it. So hopefully it'll continue to go well, and hopefully everything fisheries wise continues to go well for us, because I feel like we're kind of riding a wave that is for the better right now.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely have trying to do what they can to stay on top of Creel and so many things like that. I will admit, like I've emailed Chris and like immediately, other morning, Jason Adrian calls me at 6:30 in the morning. I'm headed down to fish, and I was like, "Who in the world is this?" And he's like, "Hey man, this is Jason. Chris told me you sent him an email and he wanted me to reach out to you about some stuff we're talking about." And like anytime I've asked for anything, like they're just like Johnny on the spot. You can tell they are definitely concerned with what's going on in our fishery. And I think we all had kind of some questions about decisions that were made about leadership and things in the past, years too that happened. But yeah, I think they're definitely doing a great job, and very thankful for all those people that work to help promote our fishery and keep it healthy. Even though there's some that charter captains and just individual anglers alike who think nothing they do is very good or their information is wrong. But no, I applaud those guys, those men and women over there who do what they can to help support our fishery and make it a better fishery, all around.
Yeah, I mean, like I always say, dude. I mean, me and you talk about it all the time, Dave. Like, I don't know how some of those guys continue to just sit up there and do their job. Like they get poor Jason, man. I mean, he gets up there at some of these meetings, and you've seen it. You've been at some of the meetings, Dave.
Oh, I
Like
know, dude. They
he gets
just
up there, and they are just dogging him, and I'm like, this guy shows up to work, and he knows what's coming that day. Like he gets up, he walks up to that stand, knowing that they're about to literally walk up behind him. They're not going to pay attention to a single word he said just now about any of the science that he just presented and be like, hey, all these damn biologists don't know what the hell they're talking about. That guy's clueless. That guy's an idiot. And then, Jason, Chris, and Joe West and them, they just go sit back and they're like, get right back to how can we make this stock assessment even better for the next one? How can we fix this? And then the administration is coming in being like, how can we help the public, get a better view of it? And I mean, hats off to them because, man, I'd be fighting people a lot. I wouldn't. I say the same thing to Nicole. She's a teacher, and when she talks about stuff that parents say, and I'm like, it's kind of one of those things where I'd be fired very quick because I would stand up and say something back and
no doubt.
get into
I was
it.
just looking at my phone, and I have another voicemail from Jason from yesterday that he called me right back when I was I called you telling you about those worms and stuff I saw that
Oh yeah,
the black drum were eating on. I was like, man, what are these things? What's going on?
what did
I've
he
seen
say
it
about
before.
it?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Oh,
We
I
played
got
phone
it.
tag, so I don't think he really knew why I was calling.
We'll
But I
talk
was gonna,
about that with Shane too.
yeah,
That was something I wanted to bring up with Shane because Shane's been doing this far longer than me and Dave,
yeah, we
obviously.
can talk about that another time. But seeing him
Those little
again the other
worms,
day,
just
yeah,
because I had a lot of people asking about it, and we used to always call them oyster drills. I think they're bristle worms. I don't know. We'll get into that next time. If
yeah, for sure.
any worm experts out there, feel free to send us an email because we'll talk about that next time. Maybe we'll bring you on if any
Yeah,
worm experts are out
that'd be
there.
perfect. So I'm still trying to figure out what I was looking at. So
But yeah, I mean, hats off to all them guys over there, and you know, it's been good. I mean, fishing has definitely has taken a turn for the better. We had the freeze that we thought kicked us back a little more, and everything at Walleye Fisheries just seems to be going well. It's kind of like, man, is everything really good right now, or are we just kind of acting like that? But I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're good to go, and hopefully this is what leads to a good year. Good
yeah,
spring,
for sure.
good summer. We got plenty of days to get y'all out there. We got other guys that work with us to get y'all out there. Give us a call. Me,
Yeah,
Shane,
for
and
sure.
Dave. Give us a call for the spring, spin fishing, fly fishing, whatever y'all want to do. Shoot, I get people to call me all the time about doing dead shrimp trips. I mean, like I said, I don't really do that much, but I can get you some of the best guys to do it. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. No
you
doubt
just
about
let
it.
us know. And I don't know. Dave, you got anything else?
No, I think that's it, man. It's kind of good to get in here and catch back up and get some more stuff down, and hopefully we'll get some more stuff down the next week or two for other
Yeah, we're
upcoming
gonna get
episodes.
back. We're gonna get back to a schedule on this for sure. That's what me and Dave talked about it a bunch, and Shane too. Like we're gonna get back to a schedule where we're doing this. I want to do it, a couple of times a month, not just once a month or every other month or whatever, like we done before. So if people want to listen, we'll do some talking, and if y'all don't want to listen, then send us an email, say you don't want to listen. I'll go do something else with my time. So,
Yeah, hopefully people do listen. I would like to, here's some
yeah,
questions
we
like
love hearing
what they
feedback.
want to hear, or what they, what about this, what about that, what do y'all think about this or that, or have some
Yeah,
questions.
I mean, if there's
Yeah,
questions like fly fishing wise, I mean, shoot, Dave worked in a fly shop forever and has been fly fishing and been around fly fishing probably longer than most people that y'all go and fish on fly fishing trips with. I can just about guarantee you that. So, any fly fishing questions, he's probably got it figured out. Spin fishing stuff and fly fishing stuff for Shane too, especially stuff down the river in Venice and bull reds and all that stuff. I mean, Shane's been doing it for I don't know how long, 114
for
years or so now.
forever, yeah, for
A
sure.
good while, longer than probably anybody else. I mean, I don't think I bet you there's less than 10 people left, maybe 15 or so, that have in that group that have been doing it as long as, Shane and some of those guys have. Small group. It's getting smaller every
Yeah,
year for
for
sure.
sure.
And then, yeah, I mean, anything. I like to get in the science side of things. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. Let us know. Send your emails to TheRedfishPodcast at gmail.com, and we're going to get some more stuff like this down. Like I said before, I'd like to have Jason and Chris or one of them on for just a couple questions I have too, and that people have been asking me, and I think it'd be good. And let us know. Let us know if there's anybody you want us to have on. Let us know if there's anything else you want to hear. And we look forward to talking to you at the next one. So we'll catch y'all later at another one. And just remember, tell all your buddies, the Redfish Podcast. I guess we're back. I didn't really feel like we left that much, but
Yeah, for sure. We're back. We
we're
got to
back.
get this thing going. All right, fellas, y'all
So,
and ladies, y'all have a good evening.
all right, bye. All right, well, thank y'all for listening to another episode of the Redfish Podcast, and y'all know what to do. Hit me up at the email, TheRedfishPodcast at gmail.com. All of our contact info is somewhere in whatever, I don't know what it is, the info page that each of these podcasts are on. I just pretty much use Spotify, so I don't really know what else y'all listen to. Apple, iHeartRadio, whatever the hell it is, Google Podcasts. It's all wherever you find the info page, that's where it's at. You could find all of my contact info, Shane's contact info, and Dave's contact info, all websites and everything. And like I said, we're going to get back to doing this more frequently, like we should be doing. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear. Let us know what y'all want us to talk about. So, anything redfish regarded. I mean, I know we talk about a bunch of other crap too besides redfish, but as always, whatever redfish questions or whatever you want to know, or if you're just like, hey, drop us a topic, talk about that. But yeah, as always, just remember, like I always tell you, do one thing for Louisiana, throw one fish back, pick up some trash out there. Y'all are all better than what y'all act like it sometimes. I know it. And just take care of this place. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to, hopefully, my kids one day. And hopefully it means a lot to you. And if you're listening to this, it probably does. So keep that in mind. And we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.